To our knowledge, we are the only self-supporting, self-governing, city-sanctioned homeless community in the world. I'm Lisa Larson. I'm the CEO of Dignity Village, and I've lived here for about 6 years. We can have up to 60 people here at any given time, and then an additional 10 in our commons for a warming shelter. We sit on about 2 acres of land, just a little less.
So you've got 47 units?
43 units, actually. One that's being redone completely, a couple of them that are in the process of being cleaned. So I think right now we're about 52 people total. And then we have our other buildings. Our guard shack is manned 24 hours a day, and that is definitely a common area. Our computer room sits behind it, and we've got 3 internet-accessible computers. And they're not even just for us here at the village. If somebody is still sleeping outside the gates, they can come in, contact family, use our phone, look for jobs, send out resumes, whatever they need to do out on our computers. We have our common room, which is our meeting room, our family room, our living room, our TV room. It's kind of our partial kitchen. It's got hot plates and microwaves. It's also our warming shelter for the additional 10 people we can hold during the extreme cold. Yeah. Below 40 degrees and or raining or snowing, ice, then our commons is open. If it's decent weather, then we close it because that's also our living room. Got our showers. Some of us have little heaters that we take in with us, but still that concrete in there is cold. We have to watch how much propane we use. We do limit the shower time to about 10 minutes per person. And we have a small community room for small meetings or if somebody needs to just work on their laptop. So we've got other buildings here too.
I'm noticing that all the buildings here have got a lot of beautiful artwork.
Yeah. The paintings on this wall was done by an artist that's supposedly depicting the paintings from France that they found a few years back, or probably many years back. Along the side, he painted himself petroglyphs that he remembers from the cave walls in Arizona. That painting over there was done by some taggers. You know, the ones that go out and spray paint illegally. Well, they decided to put their artwork to something good. Now, what he's looking at over there was also done by an artist. The gentleman had been diagnosed with cancer, and he knew he wasn't going to have much longer to live. You can kind of see where his mind was going. He was going to come back the next spring, and we never saw him again. A gentleman had the desire to build a greenhouse in every country of the world. He got a grant for 50 of them, and this is the United States' greenhouse off that grant. The greenhouse was painted on the outside by one of our former villagers. The windows in the greenhouse were painted by the kids who built it. Themed as transitions in life is what the kids were supposed to paint. And like all artwork, some of it I understand and some of it I don't.
And there was a woman here named Brandy. She was a framer for 20 years. And so me and her pretty much built this house, quite a few of the other ones, number 34 over there, the one next to it. We helped build the common room.
The village started back in the year 2000. Downtown, a group of people got together. They were tired of being harassed by the cops, tired of being harassed by other people. City or the state would come in and say, you can't camp here, you've got to move on. Otherwise, you're going to be in jail. So they'd all load up and move to the next bridge. And we have several bridges here in Portland. They had shopping cart parades. And through that time, ended up with supporters, some big-time supporters. And they kept working with the city. And the city picked up a couple sites. And this is the best one, they decided. It was only supposed to be temporary. And we're still deemed as a temporary campground, even though a lot of us would like to see an intentional community. But as of right now, we were deemed as a temporary transitional campground.
Tell us a little bit about your personal story. How did you come here?
Well, I'd been in a marriage for about 17 years that progressively got more and more abusive. I then moved in with a guy who I thought was my best friend who was going to protect me, and instead he tried to kill me about 5 different times in about 7 years that I was with him, including taking a double-barreled shotgun to my head and pulling the trigger. And how I ended up homeless was Christmas Eve one year, about 8 years ago. I left. Had met the love of my life now, And then my husband put himself homeless so I wouldn't be out on the streets by myself. And we spent about 2 years out on the streets, 1 year sleeping in abandoned houses, and got arrested out of numerous times. The next year we did some camping in some little parks type settings just out of the city limits, and eventually got ran out of there. Took us about 6 weeks to get in, and we've been here for 6 years. And it's changed our life. There is a true sense of community here, but there's times we don't like each other. There's times we fight, we bicker, we scream and yell. But when it all comes down to it, people care. The husband and I had a fire in our structure, but before the firemen left, we had a place to sleep, we had pillows, we had blankets, we had clothes, we had food, and half the people were out looking for our cat that was in the fire at the time. People truly cared. It's been almost 3 years now since it happened. It still gives me goosebumps that the village actually stepped in and took care of us. I'm thinking about doing one of these down at our end of the village too. But it's a little cat area, and then they can use this to go do their business and play. We are one of the unique organizations that do allow you to have your pets here. I believe we have about 25 cats right now, give or take, and we're at our maximum of dogs, and that's 10.
The location that the city's chosen, it's right by the end of the airport. You've got the works yard on here on the other side. You've got the prison over here. Is that very much of a disturbance, or do you get used to it?
The airport, I don't have a problem with. Where Scott and I were camping, we were staying right next to a railroad track, and that was even noisier. So the planes, I find them exhilarating, and especially when the jets take off, the fighter jets, they're really cool to watch. The prison next door, excessively quiet neighbors, no problems with them. I think in the 15 years we've been here, I think there's been 2 escapes. And one of them came and asked a villager to have a cigarette, and they caught him. Our moving company next door, they're fairly quiet other than big trucks coming by. Across the street is a college track and field type practice field. That gets a little busy, but it's a nice green spot for us to look at least. My biggest complaint is the compost pile back behind us. If you did not have a breathing problem before you got to the village, you do about 6 months into it. At one point I was on 2 inhalers because of it. And then the smell is atrocious when they're turning it. But today, the wind's blowing the other way, so we don't have to deal with that. And they're fairly quiet. And our one other neighbor, which is actually a house, an older couple lives in it, and they're proud to be our neighbors. Most people say, they don't want the homeless in their backyard. Well, these people would take 100 more of us here if we could. So they like us, and we like them. We're out in the middle of nowhere. We do have a bus system out here, so at least we can get downtown. To get into the village, you would come in to meet with our VIC, which is Village Intake Committee. 2 requirements is you must be over the age of 18 and you must be homeless. Now, once you get into the village, we have rules, of course, and we have 5 basic. Number 1 is no violence to yourself or others. Number 2, no theft. Both of those will get you kicked out of the gates really quick, and there is no returning. Number 3 is no drugs or alcohol here or within a block radius. Now, since we're all adults, that doesn't mean that we couldn't go out and partake in a couple beers and then come home, but we have to go straight to our structure. We're not allowed to be intoxicated out on the tarmac. Number 4, no constant disruptive behavior. People screaming and fighting up and down the tarmac just does not work very well. And then number 5, we all must contribute to the operation and maintenance of the village. We do that by 2 ways. 1, we have to do hours around here. We call them contribution hours, and we all required to do 10 hours a week. Number 2 is paying our $35 a month.
Now, I see you've got a wood pile over here, and I know that there's been various things that Dignity Village has done to make money to support the village.
We make our own money and pay all of our own bills except for the land that we're on, which is city land, and that's on a $0 lease. Everything else we pay for. And we do that by some of our micro businesses, which our wood pile has been a huge micro business for us. We get free wood off of Craigslist. Some tree fell over in the city. Metro brings it out to us. So we get wood from all sorts of places. And we split it, stack it, season it, and turn around and sell it. And we'll sell it by the stick up to a couple cords if we have it here available. And that's been a huge moneymaker. When we get large donations in, if it's a big money ticket item, we will put it on Craigslist or eBay, and sometimes we even have like yard sales here. We also have our metal recycling. It makes a couple hundred maybe a month. The cow is one of the cows for kids. Portland did a money raiser, and the cows or the kids that were in jeopardy of, maybe fires or abusive situations, the money was being raised for that. But one of our big time supporters found out we wanted the cow. He bid for the cow. He won the cow. He donated the cow to us. He also challenged the auctioneer place to match the same amount of money and donate it to us also. So we got either the $7,500 from him or the $1,750, and then matched by the Cows for Kid organization, and we got the cow too. So we call it the cash cow. But how we actually pay for most of our own bills is we all have to pay $35 a month.
How much does it cost to run the place per month?
I'm thinking about $2,500 a month. Our garbage is about $400. Our portalettes are about $400 a month. Our phone, Wi-Fi, and all that, I think it's running about $200. Our insurance, of course, is like a couple grand for the whole year, so we have to divide that down. Our water bill has skyrocketed this last year. The city has imposed a tax, so our water bill right now is running, I think, about $600 a month. It was about $600 to $800 every 3 months, so it's gone way up. A few of us have solar. Most people run off of car batteries and inverters. We charge them up here at the power pole and then take them home, and that's how a lot of people have power. Solar does not work very well this time of year. Most of us buy our foods with our food stamps and cook individually. You can't really go hungry here. If you do go hungry, it's because you haven't opened up your mouth and asked. Because if somebody's got food, they're going to feed you. And we also get a good-sized food donation, canned foods, frequently. So you can always ask our donation coordinator for food. Yeah, the mandala was originally done by the Village Building Convergence. It's supposed to bring us good feelings and sense of community. From what I understand from the old-timers that used to be here, they put us out here to fail, and we haven't. We've been out here now 15 years, and I think we're actually starting to thrive a little bit instead of just surviving.